Hi there. Oh, yes, it's working. Hey, good evening. It's the last Monday in August, 2021. It's also my birthday. Ha. Anyhow, I am glad that you are here either with me live or listening later on. I wanted to share with you some thoughts and to give you some support around what in the conversations that I've had with many folks, seems to be places where it's difficult and there's a lot of suffering. And I wanted to share some ideas and insights along with the practice that might help you feel more even, more in the flow. So, and I wanted to say, in case you are listening to this live or you're watching, that I can't see you. I can't see any comments or anything. So I'll see them afterwards and I'll respond afterwards. In the meantime, I'm glad that you're here or glad that you're listening later if that's the case. So what brought me to this is that in my conversations with clients and friends and family, and even in my own head and with my own experience, I'm very much aware that although we have spiritual practices, we have spiritual teachings from our faith or from teachers, spiritual teachers that we have read or study with, or we have stress management techniques or other techniques that are meant to help us calm down, to chill out. It can be very difficult when especially when things are very amped up, to have those things work. And in many cases, and I was one of these people, I had a whole bunch of things in my toolbox and nothing, if anything did work for me back 10 years ago, it didn't last for very long. And even though I knew in my head rationally, I understood the teachings rationally, I understood that 5 present breaths help you calm down. I understood that, and I could even, it even did work for those times I was taking the breaths. But then right after that, I was right back in it again. And right now, it's actually not a whole lot of new, but the things that are going on right now, there's a whole lot of stuff, I'm just calling it COVID controversy. And that is meant to go over the whole thing, no matter where you are in the continuum about which subject. It is, there's not harmony in how that subject is looked at around the world. So that's what I'm referring to. And for many folks, that's causing a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, fear, and even some other things on the other end of the spectrum, relief, an opportunity to change, those sorts of things. But also there are people who are experiencing a diagnosis of a close family member or a friend or for themselves. There's, of course, we have extreme weather situations on the planet that are causing anxiety, both for many of you listening to this locally and for what you're hearing about happening in other parts of the country and of the world. Perhaps there are antagonistic relationships, either with your boss or with world leaders or people in power, these sorts of things, and that you take this on, you feel this too, and you are absolutely not alone. And it is absolutely not wrong to feel the contraction of these things that I'm talking about right now. The human suffering that's going on, not just in this country, but in other countries too, due to what's going on politically within governments. And then, of course, there's the things that are more internal, amplified guilt or shame for choices that we've made or things that have happened to us or things that we have done. And all of those things, first of all, you're in good company if any of those things are something that feels like it's weighing on you, or just a worry for the people that we're close to, or the people in the world that they might be okay. So what I wanted to do tonight is to give you a perspective of looking at these things that you may find helpful. So, and I would like to say that I don't have an agenda for like the way that someone should be. One thing I am absolutely clear on is that there is nothing wrong with what you are feeling or what you are experiencing. And I also know that sometimes when we feel a way for a long time and we're not able to change that, it starts to create discomfort, contraction, suffering. Um, on one end, it could move into resentment or extreme anxiety. So in the teaching that I do, in the work that I do with folks, we talk a lot about getting to the place where the energy in your body is able to let go of what's not serving you anymore. It sounds a little bit trite, a little bit of it just seems like that's what we hear a lot. Oh, just let it go. Let it go and move on. And for any of you that have ever heard that before, of course, that's not always so easy to do. And from an Eastern medicine perspective, that isn't necessarily within your control to let something go that has been part of your experience for a long time. I am not saying that to take away responsibility, because we all do have personal responsibility. It's just so that it may be that you have things that have seeped in, and it's up until now, it's been difficult to apply the things that you would like to apply, or to let something go. We'll just say that in a broad way, since I'm speaking about a lot of different things and meaning to be very broad here. So the other thing is that I encounter a lot in talking to folks is that they have some very strong beliefs about, you name it, it is something. And there is obviously a pattern that you have probably seen in your life too. This strong belief bumps up into the strong beliefs of somebody else, or somebody else doesn't feel the same way they do. So there becomes disharmony there, in the form of all kinds of things. We're going to just call it, in a loose way, disharmony, but it can be, griping, throwing people under the bus, attacking other people physically or verbally, calling names, or having all that happen inside your head, where you're very angry or upset at what you see as your belief not being accepted by somebody else's, or somebody trying to force their belief on you, and you don't like that either. All obviously not a pleasant place to be. So how do we navigate that? How do we not? Well, if we go with what I teach so much, based on not just the teachings of Master O and Pangu Shanggong, but it's also the teachings of faiths all over the world. Can you step into a place of kindness and unconditional love for those people that feel a different way than you? So obviously, when I say that sort of thing, because I've been working with people who have some very strong opinions for a very long time, I know that even pisses people off to hear. I do not want to love that person. I do not want to accept that they have a point of view that's different than mine. And I get that. I also experience that in my life, that I find something so, we'll just go with offensive. Somebody's point of view might be so offensive to me, or something that I hear about that happens in the world is so, oh my gosh, you name it, horrifying, enraging, sad, deeply sad, triggering much grief. Yes, those things will happen when we are aware that our point of view does not match someone else's point of view. And I'm not saying that you need to not express your point of view because someone else may not agree with it. I am going to suggest a way of being that you might be able to have less cost to yourself when standing in what you believe is the truth for you. And I would invite you to be, and this is not for a conversation right now, but look at what is true, what is truth, and what is a belief. And of course, beliefs are like most of what we bump into on a daily basis is expressed as a belief. I'm not talking, please don't, don't think, I understand there's science, there's things that have been proven and all of that. But as you know, sometimes that's called into question. And perhaps there is a space to stand in neutrality. So I am not suggesting that you stay in neutral all the time if this is not what feels right to you. For example, I am definitely against pollution and littering. Okay. I use this as an example because most people don't argue that air pollution, water pollution is a bad thing, quote unquote, bad thing, judged to be a bad thing. And so is like throwing trash deliberately out and littering. Most people that are on the planet today, that's even a big, broad statement, but many of the people that we know who are listening to this now believe that. So it is a belief that pollution is a bad thing. And we may even say that it's true. Like we have evidence that it's not good for the earth to pollute, good for humans and the animals that live on the plants that live on earth for us to be polluting and trashing things. So I feel strongly about that, and I do my part and sometimes speak out. The way that I speak from comes from absolute compassion and the belief that all people have a right to be free of suffering at some point. So what I am suggesting, what I believe that much of the spiritual teaching is saying as well, if you are reading that, and what also really, like, you don't even have to believe in the spiritual teaching or care about it, but perhaps it would feel better to teach yourself or allow yourself to have the experience of, okay, down here on a regular basis, I deal with beliefs of other people that I don't agree with. Things are happening in the world that cause me anxiety, that cause me to become angry, or that I become angry when I learn of those things. And we can take a weather event and how weather things that happen and the people that suffer in the path or the aftermath, things that are man-made, things that are natural things, whatever it is, we operate down here on mostly down below. We operate in this way where things happen, we respond, we have an emotion that goes with it. And that's where most of us are spending our lives. We are just constantly reacting, most often judging things that happen as good or bad, and always looking at where we align with something, or we are against something, or resisting something that's happening. And if we're not, if we have been taught like that's bad to have that kind of response. I see that people are saying, hi, I can't see who you are, but hello. If we are, let's say that we are actually trying to stay out of it and not have an opinion about it. And perhaps that's working. Perhaps that's working well. What I experience is that I have less suffering when I stay in a neutral, compassionate place where I recognize that I have my points of view down here, and I acknowledge that all happened because of how I have been living my life and where I was born in the world, all of that. And I decide to come up here and stay neutral, stay connected to the idea like, okay, yeah, down here, there's a whole lot of not agreeing with each other, a lot of judgment, a lot of the things that don't feel so great a lot of the times. And there's also some things down here that feel really great, that feel awesome, that are like when we have a lot of people agreeing with us, or people sing us happy birthday that we don't even know. We have a lot of things that happen down here that feel really great, and there are lovely things. And there are things that don't feel so great. So whichever it is, can you spend 10 seconds in this place that remembers that we're all connected? I'm talking about humans here. We're all sharing this human experience. And just for a second, remember that like we're just part of a one thing. We're just part of one thing. We're on this one planet, and we are here. And for a moment, let everything drop. That's part of the judgment, and who is on my side, and who thinks I'm wrong, and who agrees with me, and spend 10 seconds up here in 100% compassion, in a place where grace is easy, where forgiveness is easy. And if you're only doing it for 10 seconds or 5 seconds, it is easy. It can be easy. Now, again, back to what I was saying earlier, if you've had many years, decades, a lifetime of not being able to access that, to practice that, like, I'm just going to let it all drop away for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days. If you've never been able to practice that, what we're about to do may be helpful, but there are other practices too. And I speak a lot about them in Facebook and on the YouTube channel, and in my group, my private group. And some of that can be practicing something that helps you change the energy, helps you change the things that have seeped in down here. And it makes it really difficult to see that there could be any other way of looking at things. So if you decide to spend 10 seconds up here, like, just breathe. That's a person. That was someone's kid at some point, or that person is a parent, or whatever it is that allows you to connect to compassion with people, with people you know, people you don't know, that allows you to drop it all away and set that stuff aside that we deal with down here. If you can do that for just a bit, it only takes a little bit of practice to shift things. And if you haven't been able to do that, perhaps this practice will help. And anyway, I can talk more about that at another time. So what I would like to do after sharing that, the idea was to talk about how to, on a very practical level, apply some of the stuff that seems so hard in a way that's a little bit easier. So maybe don't start with the hardest thing that's down here that you encounter, what pisses you off the most, what creates the most sadness and grief for you, or the memory that you have that creates the most shame or guilt. Don't start with the hardest thing. Start with something easy, and like people at a traffic light that you don't even know, who are sitting there at the traffic light with you, or someone in the grocery store. Start up there and slip into the space of, no matter, like, it's really cool to do this with people that you don't know, because you don't know their points of view about anything. So it's easier to do. It's a nice place to practice. And sometimes I talk to folks who feel like that this waters down their own beliefs from instead of staying down here all the time where we're fighting, or we're contracted, and we're feeling small, we're feeling victim, instead of here all the time, that when we go up here, it's like we aren't honoring that all this stuff has happened down below, or that our belief isn't important. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what if you just took a break? What if you set all that stuff aside for 10 seconds and sent love and compassion, not worry, to people in the path of a giant hurricane? Sent love and compassion to people in a country where you're hearing, a set of reporting that has, that's quite alarming. You sent love and compassion to, the people that you see as your perpetrators, or the people who may see you as the perpetrators, whichever way it is. And then you can come right back down, and pick up all that stuff, and you can get right back in it. You are not surrendering in a way that has you losing. It's surrendering in a way that accepts, like, okay, all this stuff happens down here, and for just 10 seconds, I would like to experience that total disconnection from all of this, so that I can remember that we are all one human race. That's it. Okay, so what I would like to do now is to give some medical Qigong support for what I just said to help that space up here instead of down here where all the blah is be a bit more accessible. And I come to this from, if you've ever listened to anything that I've done before, you know that I come to this several different ways. And tonight I'm probably not going to speak a lot. I'm going to just do it by having you get into a quiet space. And then I will say some words that are part of the medical Qigong protocol, and then we will sit quietly for a few minutes. And if you want to lay down while I do it, to lie down, that would be great, but it's not necessary. And I'm just going to speak as though you're sitting or laying down. So find a comfortable seat. We are about 21 minutes in, so if you need to come back when it's a better time, you can fast forward the recording to 21 minutes in. So as you get your comfortable place to sit, I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes or place your visual awareness out in front of you, 5 or 6 feet. There's no need to look at the screen right now. Just be aware of how the breath is moving the body. Feel the inhale. Feel the exhale, and as best as you can, let the attention come to the breath. This breath that's always there. And as your mind wanders onto something else, just come back to breathing. You can make a note that I'm thinking, and then now I'm breathing. I'm breathing. I'm breathing. Notice other body sensations like the support of the furniture that you're sitting on. If it feels appropriate, take a deeper breath and let it out with a sigh. Do that again if that makes sense. It feels right in the body now. Feeling the support of the furniture underneath you or the floor if you're sitting. Let your awareness drop down deeper into the structure of the building that you're in. Then becoming aware of the earth itself, the ground, the dirt, the planet. In this moment, just acknowledge this giant planet that we are all on, and the support that it gives you physically. Imagine just the right balance that we've evolved into to be able to walk around on the planet and move about on the planet. Just the right balance. Every single person is affected by the Earth's gravity. Every single person shares the support of the planet. And then become aware of the way the room feels on your skin. Particularly pay attention to the top of the head. And place a lot of awareness on if there's any feeling that you feel at the top of the head. Whether you have spent much time with Eastern traditions or not, it is actually known by scientific instruments and other scientific studies that the top of our head is an interesting place. So focus on it now. Notice any sensation you might feel there. And bringing awareness to the entire body. Notice again the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Recalling that each and every human, every animal breathes. We all inhale. We all exhale. Just for a moment, setting aside any places or stories of right, wrong, inferior, superior, good, bad. Breathe. And invite in, instead of a separation, a comfort of that which we share. We all breathe. We all are supported by the planet. If there are places that it feels particularly hard to set aside what's different, figure out if there's a place in the body that you hold that resistance. You can figure that out by seeing if, when I ask that question, if there's a place in the body that got your attention. So maybe a spot just below the rib cage on the right side, or the lower back, pelvic floor. You point your finger. I'm just naming places. There's not any one particular place that's typical or ought to be. Just notice what you feel. Center of the chest, back of the neck. And if you have any place that seems like it holds something that might get in the way of, just for a few breaths, remembering that every animal, human on the planet breathes. They breathe in, they breathe out, and they're supported by the planet. If you notice a spot in the body that feels like it gets your attention because this is difficult to do, and kindly and benevolently, meaning without judgment, breathe into that space that is coming up in the physical body right now. So imagine that as you bring breath to that space, it can actually allow that space in the body to feel differently. Perhaps stay curious. Inhale and exhale. Now just do this just for you. Just inhale and exhale. Let go of trying to keep in mind every other person on the planet. Inhale, exhale. You can pay attention to how long each inhale and exhale is. You can notice how the breath feels in the body. Sometimes it's useful to have a thought that you repeat to yourself that is a broad and spacious thought that you repeat over and over again to keep your mind with the breath, to keep your mind from wandering. It can be as simple as I am breathing. I am breathing. any other prayer or mantra that works for you to say over and over again. Doesn't need to be a prayer for any of you that have an issue with that word. Let go of what brings in separation and come back to the breath, just breathing. I won't speak for a few minutes. And notice again if there's any place in the body that's getting your attention. And you can change the visualization for the breath. Sometimes this is useful. And imagine that all of your skin can absorb breath. And as you breathe it in, pay attention to any places that feel like it's hard to get the breath in there. So perhaps this is a spot of chronic discomfort or pain, or over a certain organ, like over the right side of the rib cage underneath, the heart center. And breathe in from all the skin into the whole body. With no judgment. And exhale out through all the skin. If you feel like you'd like to experiment with breathing from a place that is above all of the stuff we do not like, all the stuff that causes, or that we have the belief causes, a lot of discomfort emotionally, physically. If you'd like to practice, try that. Imagine that you just float above all of that stuff. It's down here that's sometimes unpleasant, or even the things that we have stories about are creating our happiness. Come above all of that. Just sit in a place of connectedness, of unconditional love and compassion for yourself, for other people, even the people that don't agree with you or you don't agree with. It's just for 10 seconds. And then on the next inhale, again, imagine yourself in your day tomorrow. Inhale. You can feel what that feels like to just be in that state of not necessarily harmony. And then on the exhale, let yourself go back up to the connectedness to all people and no judgment. Exhale. And inhale. Feel what it's like to be moving through our day, listening to the news, seeing stuff on social media, thoughts that go through our head, and then exhale. Let the exhale be a release and relief. Exhale. No judgment. Inhale. The stuff that's hard, the stuff we don't like. Exhale. Inhale for 3 if you can. Exhale for 5. Or do what's ever comfortable where the inhale is shorter, the exhale is longer. Inhale, meaning the stuff of yuck, the stuff we do not like. Exhale, release and relief, unattached to the stories. Longer exhale. Inhale for 3, exhale for 5. Or inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Whatever works for you that's longer. And then return back to your normal breathing pattern. No manipulation of the breath, no visualization, just breathing and feeling what that feels like to breathe in the body. Notice the physical body, anything that you're feeling. The connection to what the body's feeling can be very useful to notice what happens to your body when certain experiences happen, whether they be thoughts or places that you are. Consider not making everything a rightness or a wrongness, a superior, inferior. It doesn't mean that you throw out opinions or points of view. But what if it could be just that? This is a point of view. This is a belief that I have. I have this belief. Inhale and exhale. Again, feel the body. Notice the body. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. It was really great to have you here. Thank you for checking it out. And this will definitely be on the YouTube page. It's easy to find. Sometimes people tell me it's hard to find stuff after I do it on Facebook. So it'll be there and you can listen to it anytime. The protocol that I use stays, so you can always check in again. And again, the meditation part started about 21 minutes in. Thanks you all. Good night. Ciao. Let me know if you have any questions about anything we did. Yes, I'd love to hear. Ciao.